Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into another episode of OPES. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of our awesome content. And if you want to support the channel even more, be sure to check out our Patreon for extra episodes and exclusive content. Links in the description. Thanks for listening and let's jump in, baby. As the holiday season approaches, I wanted to keep the theme of family alive here on the OPES channel. Hey everyone, and a warm welcome to our new listeners. For those who don't know me, I'm Tristan, and you've tuned in to OPES, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. Today's episode is especially meaningful as we dive into the concept of family with our guest, Arlene Miller. Arlene is a remarkable woman, kind, hardworking, and inspiring. She shares her stories of raising her son as a single mom, all while managing her own law firm. Today, she's a life coach, helping clients find their inner peace and creating balance in their lives. I get a little personal. That's because Arlene's openness made it possible for me to ask her for guidance on an issue I was facing. But enough about me. It's time to get to the heart of this conversation. So, if you're ready, let's take a moment to center ourselves with some box breathing. We're going to breathe in 4 seconds, hold it in. And out. Just like that. We're going to align our chakras and set our intentions for another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Let me ask you this. How long have you been podcasting for?
About 2 months.
Oh, okay.
I've done like 20, this is my 26th or 27th podcast. I've done a lot.
Okay. And in 2 months, people. I mean, that's kind of impressive because that's a lot of online socializing. So
Yes, it is.
I've been doing, and I'm not, this isn't a flex. I'm not, I hit my 2 year mark in June, and it's just interesting. The more you do it, the more you kind of pick up how to tell a story, how to communicate, how to kind of personality match, and it's a fun beast. If you've been liking it for 2 months, I'll tell you to keep going. If eventually you don't stop liking it, I still recommend to keep going. I think this is the future.
Yeah, I think it's too, plus getting out there and presenting. So,
Absolutely. Plus,
yeah.
that's the whole reason why you're on here, because you're an interesting person, and I thought you had an important message to say.
Well, we shall see.
Well, we'll find out. Well, I think that's an easy segue. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Tristan, and this is my guest, Arlene. And everyone say hi, Arlene. Hi, Arlene. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Another Pod Match guest, but I have to say, before I guess I ask my question, I want to ask you a question. So when you kind of, I guess, started doing this, like, what did you notice people were asking you to come on to their show about? Like, what was the main? Like, oh, you'd be great to talk about this subject, or
It was work-life balance as it related to women because I guess, I don't know, it's a big topic. And that seemed to be a big thing, but also all the little topics I talk about with gratitude and inner coach and inner critic and self-acceptance and boundaries. Different podcasters had those kind of topics interwoven into their podcast thing that they did. So it's been a hodgepodge, but work-life balance has been a big thing that has drawn people to want to talk to me.
that was part of the reason. I guess I'm trying to figure out like what to kind of call your walk, but I mean, you started your own law firm at a fairly young age, had a kid, powered through a small business, a small like lawyering business, and raising a child to now coaching. I know you're yoga instructing, but like what do you call yours? A shaman? Are you a shaman? Like
No, I'm not a shaman. And I don't yoga instruct. I just have a daily yoga practice, which I love. And I do transformational mentoring with men and women.
transformational mentoring. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So I'm not like a shaman or a guru or anything. I walk alongside the people I work with because I feel like a shaman or guru kind of is like an intermediary between myself and like source in the universe. And
Interesting.
what I like to help people to do is work with having a direct connection. So a direct connection from source through our bodies into the heart of the planet. And it's empowering and it also helps the planet.
And Loki, that kind of sounds like shaman or druid, like you're a tree wizard. It's I, but way more loving, like way more like spirit. Like okay, but that's the reason what drew me to is like how did we go from that lifestyle from lawyering and I just and you're a mom and again specifically women. These are all questions where I was like, you know what? I think you have an interesting story. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so many places we can go. We can go like, how did Arlene start? Or, I mean, yeah, I guess where I really want to get to, when did the change happen to go from law to this completely different realm? And maybe it's not different.
Okay. Well, I didn't start off with that. I just wanted to be a lawyer. I guess where the change really happened is I had my son, and when he was about 3, the marriage was not working.
Mm,
And so I was in the process of getting a divorce, and my son developed pretty severe ADHD. And kids can pick up on everything, even though he was very, very young. They intuitively know what's going on. The parents aren't getting along. And I guess when that's where I started my quest to help him, because I really didn't want to just put him on drugs immediately. And it was pretty severe. And so I just started learning all these different healing modalities. I started
interesting.
taking him to some healers. I started tripaths and acupuncturists and all sorts of things to help him.
Did you find success in those things?
A little bit. Eventually, we did have to put him on some medication because he was like chewing through his clothes and getting kicked out of his classrooms all the time. And he was just really busy. And I can
Right.
see in myself the genetic pool that gave it to him and with his father, but I don't have ADHD. I just am more of a hyper kind of person sometimes. But
Mm,
um, all those things impacted him, because of who he is today. It wasn't a waste of time at all, but it was something. I guess it helped me. It started me on a path to heal myself. That I didn't know how much I needed to heal myself. So that's where it all started when he was 3,
You know,
and
if I could
yeah,
interrupt, that's why I invited you, is because I saw a mother willing to really give her life for her son. And in a way, you found your life by pouring into his. If you don't think that's a beautiful story, you're trying to tell me they're not going to make a Lifetime movie of that beautiful, like,
no, I don't think so. But you never know. I could be famous, but I don't think so.
well, okay.
But
And that's this interesting because I mean, again, I mean, so there's this love. You have this love in you. Was this like something you like had as a child? Like, have you always been super loving? Or like, I'm still tripping on the law thing because I think something inside you, you're like, I want to be a person of justice, or I don't know.
I did want to be of service as a lawyer, and I was of service as a lawyer. I wasn't just like, in it for the money. I really enjoyed working with people. I found ways to do things that weren't just legal because I'm really not the typical lawyer.
Hmm,
And part of it was really hard because I did a bunch of family law and divorce and child custody cases before I switched over to working with businesses.
okay.
So I found a way as a lawyer to be of service to people. It was always in my makeup. It was like it was taught to me by my parents. They were, my father was an entrepreneur, but he always found ways to get back to the community. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, but she used her social work degree like to work a hotline every week and stuff after we didn't need her so much. So getting out there and being of service was sort of like in my genetic line in my
It's in your
blood.
blood. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah,
Forgive me. I think I'm leaning too much on the law aspect. It's just I'm trying to commend that, especially nowadays. I mean, I feel like going out for your own businesses, it's a gamble, it's a leap. And I know a bunch of single moms that, well, granted, you had a partner split up at 3, but still, I know a lot of single moms that had to like take care of businesses. It's hard to juggle a child,
it
let
is.
alone an ADHD child and a career. That's commendable.
Yeah. And so you can talk about whatever comes up for you. I'm perfectly comfortable talking about anything.
Well, funny enough, I too, I mean, I don't know if you can tell. I too suffer from ADHD and I am medicated and I think it just depends on finding the right cocktail. Would you say he's found the right kind of meds and a little bit of everything?
What he watches, what he eats. He runs like a couple miles a day with his big dog.
There you go.
He works out with some weights, and he's doing what he loves.
Okay.
He found his place in life. He's 38. He is a chess teacher. He's a chess master, so he goes to before and after school programs
What?
teaching chess.
That's so cool.
Has a great business, has people working for him, runs chess tournaments. And I never thought he was going to make it out of high school or go to college. So kudos to him.
There you go, everybody. This is a pro ADHD podcast. Like we get kicked out of the classrooms and we become chess masters. I love it. Give a shout out
Yeah.
to your son. What's his name?
His name is
Baba Booey.
Will you send this to
Baba Booey.
when it's released?
I will send it to
Baba Booey.
you when it's released.
Hi,
Baba Booey.
your mom's pretty cool. That's so cool. Okay, so is he a chess wizard or master, or what's the official term?
In 10th grade, he won the chess tournaments for the state of Colorado. And I don't know what his score is, but it's pretty high. It's not like a grandmaster, but it's something pretty cool.
Some very official kind of title where you're like, ooh, okay.
Enough for him to draw students and everything to work with him and stuff like that. And he loves chess. He's really good at it.
Man, and shout out to
Baba Booey.
again. Coincidentally, if you want to talk about that, okay, so I'm a nerd, and there's just a special place. Chess has a special place in nerds' hearts because, like, and I don't mean because I know you know chess. It's just for nerds, it's like oldest school. Everybody can play a game of chess, and it's a mind game. And I let
Baba Booey.
there are people that want to hear your opinion and your words. So if you're listening, emails at the end of the episode, love to have you on. Curious about your opinion on the Queen's Gambit. He's a male gambit. You're the king's gambit. That might be the episode of this or his episode.
Yeah, he's very outgoing. He would probably love that.
Excellent. Another thing I'm going to tell you, I'm going to thank you a gajillion times for being on my show. I'm having a very delighted time. I had all these questions, thought the conversation was going to go one way, and I'm learning more and more about you. So thanks again for coming on the
You're
show.
welcome. Thanks for having
Okay.
me and for being so kind.
So we talked about the change from like, again, you technically in both careers, you're stepping alongside people. You're like, here's the overall goal. Again, divorce, you're trying to get custody of the kids. You're trying to get this much money and assets, generally for families that need it. That says, I'm up against the system. I might lose. You fight for them hard. And now you do it on a kind of spiritual, kind of mental. Because I feel like what you're saying is a lot of mental work, but I do think you mentioned the universe touching into that. That's spiritual too, man.
No, it's from the heart work because as an attorney, I was pretty heady.
Okay.
So I've developed more both sides, both the feminine and the masculine, going into mentoring and coaching and doing some healing work and stuff like that.
Well, so let me interrupt that. What does that mean? Because I will say I understand, I think kind of the surface, but what do you mean the female and masculine? And like, you mind explaining to a silly person?
You're not a silly person. So the masculine is part of us that goes out and gets things done on the ground.
Okay.
And the feminine part is the allowing and surrendering and being. So the part of us that sort of can relax and slow down and be more calm and meditative and maybe go within, like when we are mindful, or we're doing some sort of meditation, which is not just necessarily sitting still and breathing. You can be out in nature, walking
Mm,
around and appreciating the world, and that can be a walking meditation. You can be
okay.
listening to music and it can open your heart and it can be a meditation.
Mm.
So it's not like, I'm sitting there going, or something like that.
But you, in theory, can also do that too. That's the best part. You have a little bit of everything.
Yes, but I don't do that. That's not me.
That's fair. That's fair. So you mentioned something that was kind of like, oh, that's actually something I want to touch on. So, and not getting political, I guess gender specific, but why specifically are those qualities tied to those genders?
It's not a gender thing because we all have masculine and feminine qualities within ourselves. Everyone does, whether you're in a male or a female body. And sometimes it just gets out of balance. Like,
I mean, I agree.
for a lot of my life, I was much more masculine, kind of, go and get and do things and not allowing myself to feel the feminine or be a part of the feminine. I was just I just wanted to succeed in a man's world.
Absolutely.
Part of it, you have to do it to be an attorney, especially when I went to law school. But there weren't that many, as many women as there are now. So
Was it bad? Was it as all the
no,
movies show it is? Were you getting like, hey, sugar, or did you have to like kind of bulldog your way in the rooms?
no, I only had a couple of guys that were a little bit edgy and,
That's the
were
word.
inappropriate. But you know what? A third of my class was women, and so it was beginning to change then. And I feel like I'm like the second or third generation of women. A lot of women going through law school and stuff.
Mm,
So yes, there's stuff in the law and there's stuff in our world that is more paternalistic than women oriented, but it's all changing. And I don't really agree with making it right or wrong for men or women. It's just the way it's been, and it's changing. I don't know if it's always all for the good, but because it really should be men and women walking hand in hand as equals. That's what I feel would be the ideal.
that is I mean that's ultimately the goal and the hope for sure. It's I and well no, and the funny you mentioned that because I spoke to a gender fluid person, someone who I guess their sexuality is like again it changes and they also depends on certain how they feel. They tie it to that's my masculine side, that's my more feminine side, my those attitudes. It is crazy because you're right, it's not technically a gender thing, but in theory it kind of is because the very definition of masculine, feminine is male and female. But again, to take the sex out the way kind of helps because that's how you've been able to kind of guide and say you need this much aspect in your life versus you need this much aspect in your life.
I don't know if I say that. I just help people. I just partner with people to get to where they need to be if I'm a
Amen.
coach. Because if I'm a coach, basically the client is knows what's best for them inside. Whether they know it now or not.
Hmm.
As a mentor, it's different. I'm sharing my wisdom and I'm helping two people evolve and grow like that. So they're kind of like two sides of the same coin, but it's a very different process.
Well, I guess then that's a great question to start with. So, what does the process look like then?
The coaching process, well, I guess someone hires me as a coach. I have them fill out a form about what they're interested in, what they'd like to accomplish, where they'd like to be by the end of our time together.
Mhm.
And then in a coaching session, we partner. So I help them to decide by asking questions what they want to focus on, where they want to be by the end of our time together, what that will look like, what are some things they need to move around or through in order to get there, some challenges that they have, what it might look like or feel like to be there, how will they know they got there. So I help them set up like a coaching agreement,
Okay.
and then we sort of move through a process of exploring that agreement and seeing where we get to by the end of our time together. And really, as coaches, what we help people to do is have some sort of action on the ground by the end of our time together of what the client is going to work on or play with until our next session. So we're helping them to ground their realizations and make them more of a reality of how they want their life to be different.
That sounds like a therapist without like the degree. It's like you're helping. You're kind of like your habit changing, your person changing, but like you're I don't know. It's kind of like you do a little bit of everything. You're like a people mechanic.
Well, we have to be really careful as coaches that we don't cross the line to consulting. We don't cross the line to counseling. If someone comes in and they start having, because coaching deals with the present and the future, counseling
Mm,
deals with the past, and consulting is basically telling people what to do. So if we have someone, especially if they talk about things like counseling, that maybe they have something wrong with their marriage or with their childhood, and they want to talk to someone about that, then
mm,
we have an ethical obligation as coaches to say, hey, we could talk about the present as that is affecting you now and how
right.
you want to move forward. But if you want to delve into the past, I can refer you out.
Okay. That's just see, I didn't technically know that. So that's interesting because that's no, that's a very thin line I feel like sometimes. Well, okay. Let's do I don't mean to get free services, but this is kind of a good example. So I am a 31-year-old podcast host. I have a decent government job, and it's actually pretty good. It it's all right. I feel like it's not emotionally giving me what I need, and I'm looking for other work, of course, but how do I commit to this and push, I guess, more? Like how can I get more out of this podcast by also dealing with my emotional state being kind of meh? I know that's a very complicated issue. I'm sorry. I know I hit you with the shotgun, but there you go. Boom. That's me.
So as a coach,
I'm sorry. I should have wrote this down as a question. That's
no,
just
that's all right. I'm just pondering it for a second because basically I always feel that the answer's inside of you
okay.
and as a coach. And so you're doing podcasting, you have a government job, you're not so thorough with it, you'd maybe like to do something else. You're not sure where to from here, but you do know you love the podcasting bit. And I guess, I would ask you, well, what would be most useful to explore during our time together?
Interesting. Okay. So I guess and that's the kind of thing, it's like it's probably up to the person, but for me, I think I would you just kind of be not quite therapy, but like just talk therapy. You would just be talking me through life, like how am I doing? Kind of like, okay, interesting.
So in other words, you set the tone of where we're going, and I ask powerful questions. I share insights. If I'm seeing something going on with you, I might reflect it back and ask you how you feel about it, or if that's spot on. If you have a realization, I might help you to go deeper with it. So all those kind of things we do as coaches just to help the person like come into a new knowing that's already inside of them,
I
but
like
they
that.
just haven't really been able to verbalize it yet.
Well, I mean, you kind of in a way did it for me. I mean, I feel good. I mean, again, don't mean to be so honest and just share, but I struggle with mental illness. Had, I also have ADHD. I have to take medication, and it's just a weird kind of, again, it's you have to take care of your mind. You got to have those positive affirmations stuff we'll kind of get into later in the episode. But sometimes there's a chemical component. There's a scientific component to it where it's like maybe you just also might have a little imbalance of chemicals or you need a little extra help here. I feel like I'm finally getting to like that place and it feels good. And on the plus side, I am enjoying podcasting. I'm ultimately trying to make this more of a full-time thing, but I've been enjoying the journey so far. So,
And so
okay.
there's no that's one thing that coaches do, a good coach. We learn, and this is one thing I'm glad I did it because I really didn't know how to listen. I thought I did, but I didn't, or how to really
Mm.
hold space for people. And so
Okay.
as coaches or as a mentor, transformational mentor, like I hold a big judgment-free space for whoever I'm talking to. There's like no judgment here.
Well, thank you.
Also, we hold a space like it's called unconditional positive regard, but I just call it love. So that
Hey,
the person can feel safe to share whatever they need to share. And it takes time to develop that kind of rapport with somebody, but that's really important because most people don't ever get the opportunity to share and just be heard and understood.
thanks.
The other people can really are always like talking and want to share their stuff. And so that's a big difference between coaching and mentoring.
I totally agree. And it's as far as like what did you call that zone again? Like what were the exact words you said? Like the
Unconditional positive regard and a judgment-free zone.
unconditional positive regard and a judgment-free zone. That might be the title of this episode.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about it out loud. Okay. I love it. It's
All
great.
right.
Yeah, I guess I've enjoying saying things have been successful, or I'm trying to find like, is that the secret? Because you mentioned about kind of balancing, and is kind of a good outlook just a great way to get to balancing life? Or I know it's kind of a vague question, but
Well, I think what happens is, we have patterns and programs that we take on from childhood or from our peer groups that don't work for us, where something happens and it's just a trigger and we go into fear, we go into anxiety, and we don't even know sometimes why it happens. And, sometimes it's passed on even genetically. And so with the coaching and the mentoring, those are ways that we can know what those are and begin to let those go and replace them instead of with fear-based patterning and program with more I call light and love in the cells of our bodies. And so it's like a process, to begin to do that. And like any process, it takes time. It took time to get to 31. It took time for me to get to my age I'm at. And so it's always a process. And the process of evolving and growing, I don't think ever really ends. It's not like a getting there, but it's
yeah.
more of a finding a way to like enjoy whatever the process is we're doing
You
or
listen to
going
that,
through.
everybody? It's me. I'm the one who needed to hear this, but anyone else who also needed to hear it, there you go. There's the answer. So thank you. No, that that was lovely and truthful. It's a process, people. Like, I'm pretty sure your son, it took a process for him to become a chess grandmaster, wizard, sorcerer, magician. I don't know.
It was a process, and like when he hit chess, it was like, oh my God, it's like he hit the jackpot. They had like those computer games where he could go online and play chess with people all over the world from all different
Really?
levels.
Okay.
Yes, and that was his thing.
And he got money from it?
No, no, he didn't get money from it then, but he learned how to play chess. And then I found a really good chess master for him to work with, and all of that stuff sort of fell into place, and he started going to tournaments. So, I think one of the qualities of ADHD, if you really love something, you just dive right in.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
that's what he did with chess.
I'm trying to make this thing not something like that, where I want to be really present with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And okay, well, we can talk more about you and your son, or we can talk more about the coaching matter. Where would you like to go, or which topic would you choose?
I think I'd like to go with coaching and or mentoring.
Okay. So I had a question on here about how do you stay relaxed when you have a lot on your plate? So how do you help somebody balance or find balance?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to say with work-life balance is that it's always a process. You're never getting there because, especially if I'm working with women and they have a kid and they have a job, maybe they have a partner, maybe they don't, maybe they just have a significant other, but they have a lot on their plate. So things are always changing and evolving and growing based upon work, based upon the kid, based upon the partner or the boyfriend, based upon maybe responsibilities with parents. Who knows what's going on in our lives? And it's never stagnant, it's always changing. So I think one of the things that we work with is not just having a way of letting go of stress and bringing more calm assurance into our bodies and fields, but also being okay with number one, not being perfect. None of us are perfect. And to drop all that perfection.
Being okay with not being okay. There you
Yeah,
go.
we're not perfect. We're all works in progress. And so, and dropping a lot of the expectations we have on ourselves about what we have to do and how much we have to get done and all that pressure we put on ourselves, which is unnecessary.
Yeah.
And then just being more flexible and adaptable as things happen in our lives. That, I thought I was going to get this done today, but this big emergency came up and that's my priority and I'll take care of that. Or whatever happens. We have to give ourselves the grace to go with the flow because that comes up all the time.
How do you balance that though, between that and keeping yourself accountable? Because I do hear what you're saying. I do not give myself nearly enough grace, and I should. But when do I kind of say, Tristan, enough is enough? You've put this on for way too long. You need to be serious about this if you want to be serious about it. Like, how do you find that balance?
Well, there's a great book I can recommend. It's called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It's a little thin book. And basically, what it is, it just says that, well, one of the main point that I got out of it, but there's a lot of points in there. He's a really great guy, is that I think he's still alive. I'm not sure. Anyway,
Okay.
is that we look at our day, maybe the night before or that morning, and what's the biggest, hairiest frog that we have to eat, that we have to get done. And once we get that thing done, we can breathe a sigh of relief. And that's what we get
Absolutely.
done first. And then so what we do is we take stress off of ourselves of all the other little things, because otherwise what we tend to do is we avoid that. We procrastinate with that. We get all these other little things done. But meanwhile, stress is building up because we still have to take care of that big deal thing, whether
That's
it's a paper we need to write or a phone call. And so that's a really nice big stress reliever for people. So it helps us to avoid that procrastination and stuff that really puts us into that anxiety mode.
and that but and I think I don't know if your son struggled with this, but that at least I feel like that's been a difficult thing to do for ADHD is a lot of the times I find I do not push or give like take care of something unless I treat it as an emergency. Like it has to be like DEF CON, I have to get this tomorrow. There has to be a consequence because I feel like if there's not, I really do have an issue just trying to push through that.
Yeah. I mean, I have quite a few friends and some women friends with ADHD, and I find that each person's a little bit different.
Mm.
Everyone's different. For him, he would do the homework and then he would just wouldn't turn it in and stuff
Mm.
like that. And And so I don't know, I find that everyone, there's no like standard thing the way a person is, and that we just have to be kind and patient and tolerant with ourselves and find ways that we can, because sometimes if we just turn around and face an anxiety,
Okay.
it helps to diffuse it. Because like
Mm,
what we want to do as humans is to quote feel good, and we want to push it away and hope that it goes away, but it's not going to come back, it's going to come back. So if
mm.
we turn around and we say, I see you and I acknowledge you, and I'm making this new choice now. I'm going to give it a go. And if we take one small step forward with that, and we acknowledge and celebrate that, so we're not telling ourselves we have to do everything all at once. We're just saying, I'm going to try to take one small step forward towards being this a little bit different here. I'm going to see how that feels. I'm going to acknowledge and celebrate that. And then I'm going to take another little step forward, because I think the pressure we put on ourselves is to do everything at once and have it all done.
Oh, it's ginormous. It's insane. Well, let me ask you, so how do you eat an elephant?
How do I eat an elephant?
How do you eat an elephant?
I have one bite at a time.
You got it, folks. Exactly. That's your frog, and I stand by that solution, that advice, because that's how I've been able to do this cast. Is I just tell myself that like, hey, like we're doing it. We're doing it just a little bit, and that's okay. That's perfect. Man,
Yeah.
that's great advice. Great advice, and I love the fact that you're not assuming. It's never coming from an assuming place. It's like, hey, it's like you kind of accept everybody where they are, where they can kind of be, and it's great. No, I just love that name, Eat That Frog. That is going to be the title. I know I keep saying I have two titles for every episode, so I kind of got the title figured out, just both those things. I love that name. You have to eat that frog.
But that's from Brian Tracy. I don't know if that's proprietary or not, but that's a book that he wrote. So you might want
Ooh,
to give him credit if that's there. But I
by
just I
Brian
did want to
Tracy.
share something else with you there, just so you won't put me on any friggin' pedestal. I'm not, not that you would, but
I
when my
might.
son was okay, when my son was going through all of this, I didn't have the skills and tools that I had right now. And it was really, really hard for me as a parent, because I
Hmm.
felt like I had failed as a parent, because I was always being called in for parent teacher conferences, and he was getting kicked out in the hall, and they wanted me to put him on drugs right away, and I didn't want to do that. And yeah, and he was having trouble making friends, and he was pushing people away. And so all those things that I thought would be part of motherhood weren't there. And so it took me quite a while to come to a place of just loving and accepting myself as I was as a mother, and
Hmm.
being able to come to a place where I just sort of stepped back and allowed him to fail,
Okay.
and didn't and wasn't hovering trying to make sure that he was okay all the time.
Well, that's good advice.
So it was a big journey. It wasn't like I was, some little superstar mom there. I was, I was in water over my head. I was just doing the best I could with what I had. And, hindsight's 2020, I would have done some things quite a bit differently. I just wanted to let your audience know that, and you as well.
I guess I appreciate that because that's part of this cast is it's not just like, and forgive me, it does seem a little bit like I'm putting you on a pedestal. I'm like, look at you go, super mom. But I guess I'm now coaching you. Like I'm doing this. Welcome. You should be ultimately kind to yourself because like you said, did the best you could. And I believe that. I think you did do the best you could. And bro, I mean, you still got a chess master out of it. Like, I mean, good for you. So you're right. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the balance. You gotta own your faults, but I guess I'm allowing you to.
Yeah. And I'm not really beating myself up. I just wanted to be clear that, I wasn't like coming out, did I know what to do? I didn't know what to do.
Which I'm so glad you said that because I think people need to know that people don't realize is that nobody knows what they're doing. This human experience is all happening in real time. And I got a lot of clips I'm gonna be farming for this episode. You've said so many just like fun things, like or not even just like what's the word? Prophetic? I'm complimenting you again too much. My bad. I think you were saying something and I might have cut you off.
No, you can say whatever you want. If you want to compliment me, that's fine. I'm happy to have a compliment. But I'm not beating myself up now. I just wanted to be, I guess I wanted your audience to be aware that I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just trying a whole bunch of different things and seeing what stuck.
Maybe you can share with the audience what it looked like, kind of like when you weren't having it together. I mean, as comfortable as you're sharing or you want to share.
Well, I don't know if I wasn't like ever a total basket case. I mean, only like one time did I
It's one
just have a
time.
total
It's one
meltdown
time.
about it.
It's at a Costco. It's just, some freaking lady cut me off, dude, and it makes you feel better. My mom, same thing. I remember very and I think I was just too much ADHD for her. I was just asking too many questions. I was just too intense. And she's like, "Honey, I can't talk to you at a Walmart real loud." And that was her free pass. So, mom, if you're listening to this, I forgive you.
No, I just had a meltdown. It's like, yeah, with my ex-husband. Came
Okay.
well, could we work together as attorneys? And I just was in his office. I was crying. I didn't know what to do with my son, and because he was like chewing through his clothes and stuff like that. And it was for him wasn't that bad. For me, like I said, I took it personally, and
Oh,
so
really?
well, yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. At first, I took it personally as a mother that I was a failure because
Mm,
of whatever he was going through. And it that was when I got into like the coaching and the mentoring even more because that really, helped. I studied what I wanted to change in my life and then I used it to help others.
interesting. Okay. Maybe we can get into that a little bit. So, what were some of the lessons you learned then? Or yeah, how did you get to that healing place?
I guess one of the lessons that I learned that as I was sharing with you a minute ago is that I used to sort of do everything possible, like to make sure that he would pass classes, get his homework turned in, everything was fine. And I had a friend that was mentoring me because, if you want to mentor, you get mentored. And he basically said, Arlene, what you're doing is arrogant because your son needs to he came in here to learn some lessons and to move through stuff, and you are taking those lessons away from him. He needs to have the opportunity to fail. He
The
needs to have the
fall.
opportunity to just be responsible for himself and see what happens. And if you are always there to try and catch him, you're going to put yourself under a lot of stress and you're depriving of him of what he needs to come in here and learn and do.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was a big turning point moment when I went, oh my God, I am being really arrogant
I'm
and I
hearing it. I'm
am
hearing you.
being a hovering mom and this is not working. And it was like a light switch went off and I went, oh wow. And he did fail a bunch of times at stuff, but it was the best thing that ever happened to him, and it made him into the person he is today. And so I'm really grateful, and I try to give that back to the people that I work with.
No, and that's and I again I do love this cast because it's like it's a little bit for everybody. It's like, is it for my listeners? Is it for me? Is it for you? It's no, I there's so many like little life lessons where again it's like small steps, accept everything's gonna change, conflict is inevitable. There's a Bible passage. I always butcher it, but it's like Romans 2 something where it's like hardships produce endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope.
Well,
I
that's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can actually find it because I feel like John 179. Like I don't think that's
Well, that's
um
beautiful. I love that.
well
I
thank
love
you.
that. That's cool.
Well, yeah, we're about 15 minutes in. We're doing great. Kind of talked a little. Well, I mean, did you feel like you talked enough about your job and like what you do, or did you still feel like you got more to share?
Well, I'm sort of in the flow. Whatever you want to ask is fine.
Let's look at the questions. Okay. Ooh, you used to do some, it's my choice. Well, I don't mean to get so personal, but from one son to a mother. I know my mom's different than you, but as far as like just again, son to mom, how would you recommend having a hard conversation or be like, how can I help my mom maybe see to maybe slow down and maybe consider what I have to say? Like, unfortunately, I think my mom's like, she kind of brushes me off a lot, but I really care about her. But I'm also worried about her because I don't think she's making the best decisions. She's not doing drugs or anything. It's just like, I feel like she's not living up to her potential. And I want to tell her that very gently and lovingly.
Oh my God.
I know, I'm sorry. I ask all the hard questions.
Because I have been in moments just so defensive with my son. And I guess that's one of the things that we've harmonized is as I've dropped a lot of that defensiveness because he was always trying to change me. Not always, but a lot of different times trying to change me. And but in a way that he thought he was helping me. And also he sort of backed off and just allowed me to be my own person. And I'm doing my best to just allow him to celebrate who he is and let him do his own thing, to be somebody that if he asks me for advice, I'll give it to him. Otherwise, I don't.
Interesting. Okay.
Because he's grown up, he has his own son. He's married for the second time.
Mm.
He if he needs help, he can ask me, but he's a big boy, he's a grown man. So I don't know
Hear
about
that, Baba Booey? You're a big boy.
I, oh, he is a lot bigger than me, but I don't know the answer to that question because it really depends on
My
where the
mom.
person is at. Yeah,
Yeah.
where she's at. And I don't know from the person on the receiving end of that, that was really hard because it always felt like in those moments that he was trying to be my father. And
Oof.
that just didn't go over so well with me. So I don't know if I'm the right person because every situation is different. And I think we always need to make a decision from the heart because I always sort of feel into, what would love do now? Is it something that
I like
I'm
that.
doing to help my mother and she can take it or not, but at least I have shared it? Or is it something that's more about me and what I want to need from a mom? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even presume to even offer something with you because I think you probably already know the answer for yourself.
I thought that's very, very fair. And part of that is me trying to figure out what that looks like, because in reality, I don't technically know. I have somewhat an idea, but because I'm trying to also like respect my mom, and I'm like, hey, let's talk all about all the stuff my mom's getting into. It's just I okay. You mentioned you don't have ADHD. He does have ADHD. I I'd like to think there's some genetics involved. Maybe you might have like a some form or at least symptoms potentially, and maybe you don't.
Oh, I do.
But I'm pretty sure my mom has it, and she was on medication, and she was killing. She was doing good, and just my mom kind of just gets into depressions, and she gets really good at ignoring things, and I just don't think it's good to ignore things. I think
Yeah,
sometimes you have to have honest and hard, difficult conversations. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this, because that's the trap, Arlene. I'm gonna send her. That's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna send her. I'm like, hey, Mom, watch this. I got to talk to a really cool mom. And plot twist. Now you're listening, and I was a game. There you go. No, but just
yeah,
thank you for letting me be in the space because like I don't know if you could tell, and Mom, I hope you are listening because I love her. She's a fighter. Like my mom had a very difficult life, and it just sounds like she's not really happy with life right now, and that makes me sad. But I also think maybe some hard decisions need to be followed through if she wants to fix that, you know?
yeah. It is hard when we watch someone we love make choices that aren't for the best for them. It is really hard because the only person we can really change is ourselves and control is ourselves and our attitude. We can be there for other people, but and sometimes we can share things and maybe they'll listen, maybe they won't. But ultimately, it's their decision and we can't live their life for them. But
Yeah.
sometimes I think maybe the best advice I could give is it might be just as simple as that, Mom, I love you. It seems like you're going through some tough times now. It seems like you're not on your meds and you seem a little depressed. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want you to know that I'm there for you if you need me. And it feels like maybe you're not in such a great place right now.
Okay.
And
What you said.
leave it at that.
Hey, go, Mom. Well, no, I agree. I think that's a good place to be, and I am looking forward to when I can have this conversation with her, and she can get a chance to hear this, because yeah, no, that's kind of where I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a difficult conversation. Trying to figure what that even looks like. Hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you want to keep chatting about this still or on how you're feeling on the matter.
I can chat about anything.
Rock and
So
roll. I
I'm,
love that.
yeah.
Let me look at the questions though. I've been gushing about my mom enough though. I mean, my mom is cool. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can just talk about my mom for a sec. Just tell you how
Sure,
rad I
go
think
for
she
it.
is. So she is a huge Star Trek nerd. She's the biggest Star Trek nerd. Like, she loves everything. I mean, she's more of the next generation. That was her big thing. But she's just she's got tattoos. She really, really, really wants to see Metallica because I she used to be a concert girl. She saw Queen. She was a goth chick. I got some of her records. Oh, I don't know if you know. I know I have a kind of a crazy room, but like hipster flex. I got to chance to collect records because of my mom collects records.
Wow.
Yeah. Got about 300 and I got more I haven't even like got a chance to put in the old calculator calendar thingy. But yeah, no, she's a sweet lady. I really much admire her.
She sounds really cool.
Um yeah, no, she's a real sweet lady. I appreciate her and yeah, I feel like I just don't get a chance to gush about her enough. But thank you. I mean gosh. Next question. Okay, yeah. If you start to get cranky, irritable, how do you refresh your batteries? Yeah, okay. So all this is good advice, but when you're not energized, you're tired, you're hungry, had a rough day, how do you refresh your batteries?
Um, well, I probably do it differently than most people. One of the ways I do it is, first of all, I have a focus of being aware, because what I used to do is just sort of push everything to one side, pretend that I wasn't getting cranky and irritable, and keep on working and plowing through stuff until I sort of fell into a deep, dark pit and just felt totally trash. So I guess what I do now is, at least at the end of the day, lots of times I'll just come home and I'll take like a 3 minute shower, and that sort of energetically washes off the day, because you like a lot of the negativity in our environments, or what yeah, we're washing out that stuff from out of our field.
Yeah.
And I also, when I do that, this is some woo woo stuff. I work with the universal violet flame, which transmutes and transforms fear into love. And I just flood the shower with this violet light, which help wash away like negativity and stuff.
She's a witch, everybody. Get her. No.
I'm not a witch.
Not
I'm
legally
just,
speaking, but that's okay. No,
I'm a little bit eccentric, but
hey,
yeah.
I like that. I'm not a witch. I'm just a little bit eccentric. I love. Well, no, and I can back up what you're saying because I right when I got off my shift, I took a shower, kind of got like helped me in the zone.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like, to just do little stuff like take breaks and get outside and get some fresh air. And when you've accomplished something, to acknowledge it and celebrate it, and just take a breather before you jump into something else if possible. It just feels like
Yeah.
little things like that make it easier, instead of just plowing through things. And also, I mean, I work with a bunch of things energetically, so I'm not so pounded by people's projections, or people wanting to, some people just like to suck other people's energy,
Mm,
or they just want to blah 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 at you and tell you everything that's wrong and be feeling good and dump that in your field. So
exactly.
I work with a lot of things with helping people like cleanse, clear, and protect their energy field,
Okay.
because I am really kind of empathic and sensitive, and all that stuff was really pushing me around, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So that's part of what I learned how to do when I started, on that quest to help my son.
So, two questions. A, I'm not, am I one of those like, and they're called energy vampires. I'm not an energy vampire, am I?
I'm not experiencing that here.
In your face, everybody. Um, no, okay. How do you protect from people from that? Like, I hear it, but like, how do you do that?
Well, one way is I put like this golden bubble around me, and I
Hmm.
just sort of flood it with light and love. And I just affirm that if it's not about love, it's not coming into my energy field. And I also just, if people, at least once a day, I just say, I'm just sending back all energy that's not my energy. And especially if
Hmm.
it's not about love, it's about fear. I'm just sending it right back to you. It's not, I'm being mean, but it's not my energy, it's yours. And
It's setting a
so,
boundary, and you're making aware. Like you said, you're bringing awareness to it. You give a name to it. So it's like, I see you, I'm not ignoring you. I'm confronting it. I'm setting that boundary, not into it. I want love. These are things I want out of life, and what you're distributing is not it. That kind of thing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
right.
And what we can also do is we can like every time we have an interaction with somebody, energetic connections are established. So we can just visualize a couple times a day like this golden cylinder coming down around our bodies. And it's just cutting any energetic connection from anybody that's not about love. And just
Mm.
ask that golden healing light heal what that was. Because, even good people can have a bad hair day moment. They can get triggered, they can get upset, even if they're a good friend of ours. So it's not like we're making anybody wrong, but
Yeah.
we can't process the stuff from other people all that stuff.
Kind of
We
like
have
we
to
don't
sort
have
of
to
let it
take their
go.
energy. We basically just like, hey, like if they're gonna be a blazing ball of anger and hate, just let it roll right by it. Because like you don't need to
Yeah.
hold on to it. You don't need to just make that thing get all bigger. Just I respect it. No,
Yeah.
to be fair, I kind of do that in the job, or it's for me, it's I find, I guess if I'm doing the same thing, I do this I guess in a similar way, but I make sure I project positivity. Like positivity, love, and helpfulness. If I'm at least doing one of those three, the call always goes well. Because I mean, again, I'm not trying to brag, but yeah, some people answer the phone and like, you sons of bitches. Pardon my French, don't mean to swear, but they're coming hot, and I'm like, whoa, 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 hey, calm down there, buddy. Let's figure this out together. And I swear to you, by the time the call's over, they're purring my lap like a kitty. They're just like, "Thank you, Mr. Allen. You're so helpful."
That's really funny because that's what I did because after I stopped being a family law person, I became a business lawyer. But what we did was we helped businesses collect their debts. I was on the phone all day long with a lot of people could afford an attorney, so I was negotiating with them.
Mm,
And that's what I did in the practice of law, what you're doing as well. I treated people with dignity, kindness, and respect as long as they, you know, weren't a total jerk to me, and I would do my best to work with them. And people remember that because most people, if you're in debt, if you're having problems, they'll get sent to collection agencies and you get treated really, really poorly. And so I did the same thing that you did. I mean, when I was practicing that kind of law, and that's what sort of was a saving grace for me to stay in it for so long because I found that pretty rewarding.
interesting. That's a fun little question to have. There any stuff you ever miss about doing the whole lawyering thing? Anything like you kind of miss from the life?
I also did the marketing for the law firm. I did a lot more non-legal stuff than legal stuff because I was good at it. So we traveled and went to a lot of business meetings around the country because there was like called the Commercial Law League of America, and it put together attorneys and law firms and collection agencies and other people that would bring us together. So it was a way to get business. So
Okay.
I really enjoyed traveling around the country to different places, staying in night hotels, hanging out with the same kind of people that turned into my friends, and we got business from it. So it was like a win-win. Saw some really cool places, and it was fun.
Excellent.
It was fun.
Excellent. I don't know. I guess I'll ask a question for you, like it's your opinion. Do you feel like I have I'm doing the right thing, or I have like a heart for people? Are you getting that vibe? Do you see this is a good, easy fit for me?
What I found is that being my own boss, it just takes up a lot of time. You have to put a lot of energy into it. If whatever you want to do, if you're willing to put in that energy, but it's also important to have some sort of monetary cushion there, to take care of yourself while you're building a business up. And I don't know if I'm a really good financial planner when it comes to all that kind of stuff, but I think you should follow your heart.
Okay.
And you don't have to like make a snap decision now, but you can also start feeling into and visualizing and planning where to from here that feels right for you. But it's important to also take care of yourself so you don't like freak out when you're not getting a paycheck, and you have some semblance of a way forward.
And I want to be clear. I'm not be like, hey, financially consult me. Is this a smart? Because like I'm not gonna be like, well, Arlene said for me to quit my job and do podcasting full time, and now I'm homeless because I can't afford rent. I just do you? I mean, do you like, are you having a good time? Is this like a podcast that you're enjoying? Do you think I'm making a good
Yes,
space for people?
yeah, I do. And I think that it's really interesting because I haven't had a podcast before with someone who's like being open and vulnerable with me about what's going on for them. So that's a really interesting experience. It's really cool. And, you know, I, I'm not, I don't, I'm just sort of accepting you where you're at. And
Okay.
I think it's really cool that you're being kind to people in your job because that's probably not the norm.
I have to really figure out how I want to edit this because I feel like this is a very important message for people to listen to, but I also want to get a job. So,
Yeah.
I might and that's an off the episode Tristan answer. Matt, note to self, have fun editing this. That's my editor's name is Matt. But no, this has been a lovely experience. I think I know we can keep gabbing for sure, but I think maybe we have like one or two kind of big-ish conversations. Figure out how we want to you plug yourself and then we kind of close out. What do you think?
Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
Anything that you felt like again like you haven't really got a chance to talk on or you kind of want to bring up more?
I don't know because I talk about so many different aspects of what I do in different podcasts. I'm really not attached to what I say or don't say. It's nice to have that little plug at the end, but anything else is really whatever you feel would be helpful for your audience.
Well, thank you. And I know I'm projecting a lot. I'm like, "Hey, can you tell me if this is like the right decision?" But it this has been fun. I that is ultimately I know that in my heart that's what I'm gonna do. No matter where I go, I'm just gonna be this person and it's treated me well. I got to meet a lot of wonderful, kind people and I get to hear great stories. And I'm gonna clip so many clips from this episode because these are all sick TikTok, YouTube show. Now that's the secret. You're trying to advertise, you need to do the short form content. It's annoying, it's lame, but man, you get views and people from it. It's just little business advice there for you. That's free. There you go. Just gonna slide that there. Um,
Thank you.
okay, question time. What do we got? Hmm. Kind of hit the advice already. We mentioned about relaxing, taking a shower. Okay, this is a great question, if I do say so myself. I want the perfect day off for you. I'm a genie. You have unlimited money. It's whatever date you need it to be. Just what are we doing? You wake up till you go to bed. Let's go.
Perfect day. Maybe I'll get up and do some yoga. Maybe I'll drive up to the mountains where they have the hot springs.
Okay.
Maybe go up to Glenwood Springs, Colorado. They have a couple of really awesome hot springs. Spend some time in there. Maybe get a bite of lunch. Probably do it with some friends or maybe family, maybe my son and grandson, and then maybe go some other places, cool places in the mountains just around there. I mean, I love being in the mountains of Colorado. I mean, I also love to travel. I do travel, but I guess that would be just I don't need something really fancy, but I do feel really different when I'm up in the mountains. It's like the air is clearer, it's fresher. You don't get as much EMF energy, especially when you're, in between the towns and stuff like that.
But it's also a very humbling experience. Like you just
Oh
literally being
yeah.
like this next to this giant, like, wow, look at Mother Nature, just so menacingly. I don't know. It's fun for sure. Okay, I think that's a lovely day off. What are you doing for breakfast? Well, where are we going? Like, what are you having? It's your perfect breakfast. So okay, got up in the morning, extra early. Do you do breakfast then yoga or yoga then breakfast?
I don't eat before yoga because that would not be a pleasant experience.
Okay, so wake up, yoga. What are we having for breakfast? Avocado toast, sausage, eggs, and grits. Like, what's happening?
Oh, maybe some bacon and eggs or something like that. I'm pretty much a carnivore. So I know
I
that's kind
love
of
it.
weird for. So yeah, that's kind of how I eat.
Heck yeah. Okay, so we got yoga, a real scrum, carnivore, like a meat lover's omelet. Not quite, but something tasty like that. Then you go up to the mountains, do a little hiking, some hot spring, and that's not bad. We're like barely at 11, 10, 8, 10 in the morning. You're killing it. Noon happens, lunch with sun. I think, and I'm gonna project for you. You guys are gonna have a really fun, like hour and a half conversation where you just completely forget, like, oh my God, like this is, I just can't remember the last time I got so excited and just having a good time for an hour 30. Then we go up to the mountains. How are we ending the night though? I want to get extra specific. I want dinner. Are we seeing something? Is there a Mister? Miller? Is there a handsome or man or woman that you're maybe getting dinner with tonight?
No, I've been married and divorced twice. That is not happening again.
Okay,
I know you want me to be happy, but I'm really happy single.
excellent. I'm also not trying to hit on you, wife, honey. I mean, I'm not just like, hey, Arlene, you want dinner? It's a little bit.
I didn't think that. I don't really know. I don't know. I think I'd just rather go with the flow.
Okay. I love it. You have just enough planned with just enough that you get to just enjoy. I love it. There you go. I think that's a lovely day off, and I hope your next day off is like that. Or I pray you get one day closer to that perfect day. And
Well,
you
thank
just
you.
you look back and you're just like, that was awesome. Wow. Let's do that again tomorrow. I don't know. Okay, Arlene, we did a lot of chatting. We did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of talking about me and my stuff and my vulnerability. And we got to know you. How can, if people were interested in your coaching or just kind of even just wanted to talk to you more, how do my people get a hold of your people?
Okay, I'm just my people. There's no other persons. My
Okay.
cell phone is
Baba Booey.
so even if I'm out of the country, which I am sometimes, you can always text me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. My website is Jewel Consultancy, Jewel consultancy.com. You can find me on LinkedIn under Arlene Cohen Miller. You can find me on Instagram and X or Twitter under my name.
And we'll put all your links. Do you have
Yeah,
a
you
link
it's
tree?
on Podmatch.
I might, if you haven't heard of it or if you've never used it, we might talk after the show. Might help you with all that stuff. But no,
Okay.
we're gonna post everything. We'll make sure everyone's gets the socials. You sure you want your number there? I might bleep that out. Like, are you sure you want like strangers to potentially get your number? I have good audience members. It's just
I haven't had trouble with it so far. I don't know. That's when people can they can my number's on my website anyway.
all right. So yeah, hey, we'll post that bad boy. But yeah, no, if you guys vibed, if you're looking for a coach, if you're I might even just recommend my mom to you. Like, hey mom, like go get her. Or just I don't know. I see if she's interested. So and mom, sorry if I'm like pimping you out to like, hey, coach. Well, okay. Jewel Consultancy. We have Arlene Miller. Again, this has been just a lovely show. I got the chance, I really got to I met you. This is the first time I've ever met you, and I just got to feel like I got to know you as a person, and you're a kind, loving light. Keep doing
Well,
that.
thank you.
Thank you
Well,
for
thank you.
just jumping on here. Okay, end the show. I put something down. I don't know how you end your sessions, but I was like, let's end something with like some positive affirmation. Like what's a good thing we can end on the show to just give good vibes for both of us, like moving forward in like our careers, on our paths. Like, what do you recommend?
Well, do you want me to do a little meditation thing? You want some affirmations? What would you like?
Can we do both? Whatever that looks
You want to do
like.
both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Positive meditation.
Let me see what's a good one. I guess some really nice affirmations are like I am worthy of love.
Okay. And
That's
guys, we're all
that's a
doing it
really good one.
together. Like clear your tables, stand up. We're gonna say this together. You lead, so just you say it and then I say it back. And do I do anything
Okay.
else? Or how
No, you
does
don't have to. We'll just do some affirmations. So I am worthy of love.
and then do I say that?
Yeah, do you want to say it?
Okay,
You don't
okay.
have
No,
to.
no, I want to get the full effect. So if I need a second,
Okay.
okay. So I am worthy. Okay, hold on. Deep breath. Clear your head, clear your energy. So we'll shake it off, guys. I am worthy of love.
Uh,
Okay.
I guess, yeah. And I guess, it's really just important to, acknowledge ourselves and to be kind to ourselves. Like, I guess that's been a lot of the focus of this. And we tend to be so, hard on ourselves. So when you see yourself doing that, I am worthy of kindness, patience, and tolerance.
I am worthy of kindness, patience, and intolerance.
And tolerance.
And tolerance. Not intolerance. Like that's we don't that's the opposite of what
Yeah. What else would be helpful? Let's just do a little moment of the breathing together, and I'll just lead you through a little bit of breath work.
Okay.
So I'm going to count for you and
Okay.
just to see how it feels. So let's just breathe in through our nose, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe out through our nose, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in through your nose, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through your nose, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just continue breathing like that for a moment and just listen to my voice. So you're just breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And as we breathe in, we're just going to breathe in gratitude and acceptance, breathing that into our heart. And as we breathe out, we're just going to breathe out anything that's not serving us, just letting it go. So just take a moment to breathe that gratitude and acceptance into your heart. And when we breathe out, if there's any tension in our body, our shoulders or fields, just breathe that out and let it go. And finally, as we end, we're just going to affirm for ourselves, if it's not about love, it's not about who I am.
It's not about who I am, or it is about who I am.
If it's not about love, it's not about who I am.
Interesting. Yeah, that's right. If it's not about love, it's not about who I am.
Yeah.
And I found it, that verse I mentioned about the perseverance. It's Romans 5:35. And when I think I'm gonna start doing, I think at the end of every episode, I might do a little verse drop for people if they're, just something to keep them going. But Arlene, this has been a truly like magical time. I've enjoyed this. I will say the cool thing is I'm just recording people again, and you have been continuing the streak of just like really rad, like good vibe people. So just like from one soul to another, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Remember, guys, if it's not about love, you ain't about it. It ain't about you. So, yeah, kick rocks, not love. Get out of here. I've been Tristan. This has been Arlene Miller, and you listen to another ordinary person with extraordinary story. And we are out. And I press a button. And thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please click the description below to look into our Patreon. I want to give a shout out to our exclusive patrons who've been donating to the channel. Again, I want to give a shout out to Courtney, Tamsin, and Richie. Without your help, we wouldn't be able to make these fine episodes, so thank you again. And for anyone else that's listening that believes they or they know somebody who has a very extraordinary story to tell, please feel free to email me at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES, acronym for Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast, one word, @gmail.com. We're looking forward to hearing from you, and again, thanks for listening, guys. Take care.